things have just kind of fallen our way for the last 4 years times, except for in '08 when we lost the state championship. But we've been very fortunate, and it's not just because of me. It's a great staff that works really hard, and support at the school, and the players really work hard at it.
Last year's team ended up 8-2. The two losses, one was to a team that just came off ESPN, Cleveland Glenville, I believe
Right.
it was. And then you lost a tough game, as they all are, with Wynton Woods, lost by 7 points. Last year, 8-2, coming off a season where you lost so many players from the '09 team. You had to be happy with that record.
We're extremely happy with that. I commented at the awards night. I think that group of seniors achieved as much as any in all my years at Anderson. For them to go 8-2 with only having basically 13 of them, because a couple of them were kickers, and not to diminish the kickers, but those kids really did a great job leading those younger guys, and to win the close games that they won. And we played Glenville tough for a half. And then Wynton Woods game, we had our chances and made too many mistakes, and they were a great team. And unfortunately, we didn't make the playoffs, but that's what happens when you're Division I. You need more points, and 8-2 is always going to be a borderline thing for us if we're Division I to get in playoffs.
What sticks out in your mind when you think back to last year's team? I'm sure you had to be surprised about the record.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we thought that Glenville would be a tough game to win. Wynton Woods would be a very tough game to win. We thought, there were some other games that were toss-up games in there. We were worried about Oak Hills, and I think winning that first game at the Showdown last year, 14-7, even though we didn't play very well on offense, we played good enough on defense to win. That kind of gave our kids a little bit more confidence, and we kind of got on a little bit of a roll, and they started to really believe in themselves. And our kids just matured, and really, some of them just had tremendous years, like Jake Nelson running the football. He's an average high school running back, but he still had, well over 1,000 yards, did a great job. And Jordan Shelton, the year he had at receiver for us. And then we had Tommy Krupka and Chris Singleton playing in the defensive backfield, and they were such ball hawks going after the ball. And, we were just very fortunate to have such a great group of kids.
Talk about, you had 2 years of Division I football. Now you're going back to Division II. Talk a little bit about how that works. I know a lot of people are confused at why it's 2 years, or is that typically
every year, the odd years they reevaluate it, and we made it by one kid to be Division II. And you turn in your October enrollment. You don't find out until May what the cutoff's going to be. We were actually, when we saw preliminary numbers, I didn't think there was any chance we'd be Division II, and they cut it, where they did, and it just gives us a little more margin of error to make the playoffs. We can probably lose maybe 2 games, 3 games, and still get in. Whereas Division I, we lose 2, we might get in. We lose 3, we have no chance of ever getting in. For example, last year we finished, I think, 9th or 10th in Region 4 of Division I, and our point total would have, I think, placed us 5th in Division II, and so we'd have gotten the playoffs. So that's the only real advantage for it. It just doesn't take as many points to get in.
And does that affect you impact-wise, as far as, like I know Division II, you're talking, or Division I, all those wins are really necessary, and maybe you want to put a guy in that might be marginal on injury or something like that, where Division II it might not be as. Is there anything change with that, you think?
Not really. I mean, we're going to play the best guys. We're going to try to win every game and go from there. And it's just, how your team develops over the course of the year and where you're going to be. Teams change so much from game 1 to game 10, and how your team develops and whether you're ready for the playoffs, if you're healthy. Some teams get hurt with injuries early on, but then they get healthy at the end of the year, and they're a totally different team. And that's about all it is.
One of the things that we've noticed over the years, you've had an unbelievable rivalry with Wynton Woods. You've had some classic games, and it seems like every time that you've played them in the regular season, it feels almost like a playoff game.
Well, it's a great atmosphere. They've got a tremendous program, and Coach Parker's taken over from Coach Everhart and has got them rolling. And they play so hard, and they're so physical. They really, you can tell they really work hard in the weight room. And it's just a great matchup for us to play them. And their enrollment's not quite as big as ours; they're a little bit smaller, but they just really have challenged us to get better. And I know in '09 we beat them in the regular season, and they went on to win the state championship.
Right.
And that game was a wild game. It was back and forth, and we ended up prevailing. But they were still just a tremendous team, and they've pushed us, and I think we've pushed them as programs to get better. And it's a good rivalry. I mean, we play really, really hard, and I think both teams have a lot of respect for each other.
I tell you, we look forward to doing those games because you know they're always going to be competitive. There's always a big crowd, and they always mean something in terms of the playoffs.
Yeah, it usually does. It usually does have a lot of implications for the playoffs.
And we get a little excited, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things though that Greg was talking about was your senior class you had last year. It might not have been big in numbers, but the thing that you guys always say is that tradition continues, and they really carried that tradition with you guys and had a lot of good senior leadership.
They did. They did. I mean, Tony Martini was, one of our captains at linebacker, and he had just did a great job leading. And when there's only 13 kids leading, 60 plus other ones, that's a big job. And they did a great job at it, and put us in a position to win games and make plays for us. And then we got some of our juniors playing well last year, and it just kind of got on a roll for us. And I think one of the best compliments was after we beat Harrison. Our coach came up and he said, "No offense, but that's not an 8-2 football team." I said, "Well, thanks a lot." And he meant it sincerely. And he basically meant that those kids had overachieved. And I don't know that they overachieved, but I think they achieved about as close to their potential as they could have. And that's something that you really can be proud of.
You got seniors this year. I mean, how do they see what those guys did last year, and someone try to step up as seniors to lead them for this year's group?
Well, I think seniors have such a sense of urgency about it's their last year, and most of them aren't playing college football. We've been fortunate to have some guys go on in the past few years, Norwell and Mans and Brandon Bornhauser and things, but we don't always have that. There's, last year Jordan Shelton's the only kid that's playing, and he's playing at Thomas More. This year we don't have anybody with any scholarship offers yet, and probably won't till after the season, and hopefully we do. But it's not like there's a pipeline of Division I kids coming through there, so they have to, they're playing for themselves, they're playing for their teammates, playing for their school, and it means a lot to be a senior at Anderson when you're playing football, and they do carry on that tradition.
Let's go ahead and talk about this year's team a little bit. First, we'll talk about the offense. You mentioned Jordan Shelton, who had just an incredible year last year. Take him out of the mix, and you were led mostly by a lot of underclassmen on offense. Yeah,
Nick Mason was our quarterback. He did a great job as a junior, threw for about 1,700 yards, and majority of them to Shelton. But he did a nice job, and then Tanner Brondhaver running the ball, Ronnie Giver on the offensive line. And Reed Kaiser playing tight end, and Reed was a little undersized, but he was a scrappy kid and played really, really hard. And then defensively, up front we had kids like Manny Angleman, Jesse Carell, and Stephen James playing, and Brian Vale at linebacker, and Kyle Payne, Ronzel Foster in the secondary. So we have a little more experience coming back on the defensive side of the ball. But those kids, got significant playing time and were major contributors. So they have to, pick up that responsibility of leading this team.
You mentioned a lot of guys just there that's back this year. How does this year's offense compare to last year's? Is it bigger, smaller, faster?
Boy, I don't know. We're still trying to find an identity, I think, at times. We don't have that true marquee running back right now, where it's kind of running back by committee. We've had some injuries here and there, and we just haven't been able to get a real continuity going yet that we'd like to have. I think we're still going to throw the ball, maybe not as much as last year, maybe we'll have to at times, but we'd like to get back to running the football a little bit more. Our offensive line needs to improve still. We still got some juniors and sophomores that are still figuring it out, what it takes to play varsity football. Nick's coming back, and he's got to adjust to a new group of receivers and things like that. So, we're still working on that end of it offensively.
Are you still using the pistol offense?
Yeah, we're still in the pistol, still running a zone read out of it, and a lot of play action for our passing game.
What does the offense have to do to be successful this year?
Well, I think one is take care of the ball. I don't think we can afford turnovers. We have to definitely take care of the football. We have to be able to have some big strike or big play capability, which I think we do. Some of our kids can get down the field a little bit, and Nick can throw it. Hopefully we can do some things there if we can protect long enough. And I think they just have to play within themselves and do what they're good at and what they're capable of, and not try to be someone they're not. And and I think, like I said earlier, our offensive line has to grow up a little bit and reach the point where they're going to be able to block with confidence, know all of their assignments, and really get a push on the defensive line.
You've got Giver back. He basically this is his third year starting because he came in when Norwell got hurt.
Yeah.
Is he pretty much your leader on the offensive
Oh,
line?
yeah. Ronnie's a captain also, and he's a great leader for us on the offensive line. He's not the biggest kid, he's probably about 220 pounds, but we expect a big year for him.
Yeah. Greg talked about the offense and how you had some of those returners guys. You got some guys now on defense that were juniors too. Some of the guys that you mentioned, Ronzel Foster, some of those guys. Is there anyone else that maybe we have not mentioned last year that might be a surprise for you on defense?
Well, we've got a lot of experience back on the defensive front. Kyle Losif played a lot as a sophomore, and Manny Anglam as a junior, and Jesse Carell, Stephen James. There's a lot of experience up there. Linebacker-wise, Brian Vale is really the only experienced linebacker that's back. But Ray White's a junior that's coming on, and Cody Schmidt's a senior that played a little bit last year. In the secondary, Austin White had some playing time at safety last year. He's moved to corner. Kyle Payne started last year, and he's having a great preseason. He's finally healthy. He had a hamstring issue for a while, and he's playing pretty well. Ronzel's back, and he's a big physical presence out there. And then other kids like Jason Zeleste and John Von Haney, some juniors now, are kind of getting their first taste of it to see what varsity football is all about. So if those guys come on and the seniors continue to lead, we've got a chance to be successful. It's just, it's always a different mix every year of how kids are going to perform. You need your seniors to play like seniors, and you need your juniors to step up and be varsity players and understand what it's all about. The concentration level is so much greater on Fridays than it has to be on Saturdays for kids, and sometimes that's a tough thing for them to do. It's tough for them to go out and concentrate for 65 plays, when it really means something when you're playing against, other 17, 18-year-olds. So it's a big step up for kids from JV to varsity football, and you can say, oh, well, potentially this should really be a good player for us, but until they're productive, you don't really know, because you don't win with potential. You have to be productive.
Defensively, you're going to be running the same thing defensively as you did last year? Did anything change on that?
We've changed it. We're an even front this year with 4 down linemen. We just felt we had more depth there than we did at linebacker, so we basically took one of the linebackers and put him down, and playing with 4 guys up front. And it's we're kind of figuring our way through it, and I think we're going to be okay with it eventually. The back part hasn't changed. We still have 5 DBs, 3 safeties, 2 corners. And we can do a lot of the same concepts we did out of the stack.
I know last year one of the concerns was depth last year that you had, and will we see a lot of guys possibly going both ways, offensively, defensively?
We've got a few guys. Kyle Payne's been playing some receiver. Ronzel's been playing a little bit of receiver. We had Jesse working at tight end some, but then his hamstring started acting up, so we kind of bagged that idea. But we've got a couple guys that are doing that. I think fortunately we're deep enough on the lines that we don't have to really do that with anybody with the offensive and defensive lines. But our depth is better this year. But again, some of our depth is our kids that were good as sophomores, maybe playing on Saturdays in JV ball, but are they really ready for Friday nights?
Not tested yet.
And they're not tested, you're right. And that's the thing. It looks on paper, it looks like we have a lot of depth, but is it really quality depth? We'll have to see if those kids step up.
Well, in saying that, you had some guys last year that like Ethan Stone, I don't remember, guys like that that did step up
they had to play.
We weren't familiar with,
Yep.
and so that is a great point.
We had a lot of guys that came in last year, and they had played on exclusively in JV ball the year before, and they got thrown in the mix, and they performed very, very well.
Well, at this point, who's more advanced, I guess, offense or defense?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say, maybe. It comes and goes. Some days the offense is better than the defense. And some days the defense outshines the offense. So it's hard to tell right now where we're at. I think offensively we are still trying to figure out some things because of injuries and moving some new people in. We lost Reinhardt, who was a starter last year, who basically was a sophomore. They got thrown in the mix last year because we lost offensive lineman. He had to play, so he's out now for a while. He had a knee injury, so we've got some other guys that are going to have to step up, and that's kind of messed us up. We start to get on a roll, and then we get an injury, and we can't get the continuity we'd like.
Talk a little bit about special teams. We had Tommy Chapman that graduated. He was a great kicker for you. You had Chris Shingleton returning kicks. Who's some of the guys that we can look, one as your field goal kicker, and then also returning kicks?
Well, right now, Andy Strakowski is our field goal kicker. He's a backup corner, and he's not a great kicker by any means, but he's consistent. He can, but I mean, he's not going to make a 40-yard field goal, but I think he can make 25 yards in and pretty consistently and make extra points, and he's worked at it, and he's really, really improved. Our punter's probably going to be Corey Peterson, who's a sophomore, and he's really good one kick, and he's kind of inconsistent on the other ones. He's a sophomore. He's learning, and he's improved. He's really worked at it, and special teams is a thing this year from the kicking game that we have to really, really stress, because we've been fortunate to have great kickers that we could just roll out there and kick a 40-yard field goal if we had to, and we don't necessarily have that luxury anymore. And Taylor Ray was a great punter for us last year when Tommy was hurt, and Taylor ended up winning the job and punting all year. So we've got some question marks there, but I think if we keep working at it, we're going to be okay.
What about returning kicks? Who will have
still up in the Kyle
air?
Payne's. We can put Kyle Payne back there. He did kickoffs last year. Jared Cook has been catching punts. Kamel Bradley. We have Ethan Stone. We have a lot of guys we can put back there.
Yeah.
We may not have just one single guy.
You've had two scrimmages, I think Milford and Lakota East.
Mount Healthy.
Mount Healthy.
Oh,
Lakota
I'm
East.
sorry. How did those go?
Not as well as we'd have liked. Mount Healthy was kind of deceiving. The first scrimmage, we don't put a lot into it. We just kind of want to show up and see if we can do what we've practiced for the 2 previous weeks. And defensively, for example, we didn't blitz. We blitzed one time. We had trouble defending the deep ball, and they had some deep passes on us, but we did a decent job against the run. Offensively, we moved the ball a little bit, and then we'd have some mistakes, and so again, inconsistency. And then Lakota East, we went out and I think we were kind of flat last Friday, and they were well prepared. They've really improved from last year. Coach Haynes has been there 2 years now, and they had a great off season in the weight room, he said, and they've got some talented kids, a 220-pound sophomore fullback, and they're really, I think they're going to surprise some people in the GMC. I think Lakota East is a quality team that's going to win 6-7 ball games this year. So we struggled in that at times. We were losing, I think it was pretty much ones in the first half. I think we were down 24-7 at the half. So
wow.
But we had turnovers. We had a blocked kick and all the things that we can't do. We can't throw interceptions. We can't get kicks blocked because our margin for error is not that great. And last year's team understood that, and they didn't make those kind of mistakes and put themselves in those kind of holes. And this team's still trying to work through that.
Is there anything that you've been surprised by so far, whether it's in the scrimmages or in the everyday practices?
Probably just our inconsistency. Usually by now we're more consistent with where we want to be, and I think the kids are still, it's just different. You put a new running back in there, it's not quite the same when he's meshing things with the quarterback, and we had to put a new offensive lineman in. Things changed a little bit, and so we just can't quite get the consistency we'd like, and so we really don't know exactly what we're going to get every day. Some days it'll be great, and then the next day it'll be subpar, and we have to really try to find that consistent level of excellence that we'd like to be at.
You mentioned the right heart. Has there been any other real glaring injuries that may affect how you do things?
Not anything long term. No, we've got a couple guys with hamstrings still, bumps and bruises, and this week going in we're pretty healthy. Brandon Satterfield he's a kid from Florida that's not going to play. He's a running back. He's got a hamstring issue, so he won't play this week against Princeton. Hopefully we'll have him back for Withrow. He gives us a lot more depth at running back, and he's really kind of untested because, we just started to use him a lot, and then he tweaked his hamstrings. We thought he was healthy for Friday and went in and ran the ball 3 or 4 times, and they started to bother him again. So, we got some. He's got some physical rehab he needs to do to get those things back, and in shape the way they need to be. And other than that, we've got to adapt to injuries. They're part of the game. You're always going to have kids that are out, and somebody has to step up, and you just your level has to stay the same.
Let's talk about the league. This is, if am I right? This is the last year in the
Last
FAVC?
year for the FAVC,
How
and then
about
it goes
that?
to the Eastern Cincinnati Conference, the ECC. Yeah, it is, and it's been a great league for us. It's been very balanced, and us, Winton Woods, Glen Estee, I think have won the majority of the championships in there, and maybe Harrison a couple times and things like that. But Loveland and Milford have improved their programs, and it's a very competitive league that if you don't play well, you're going to get knocked off by somebody. And it's a combination Division I, Division II league, just like our new league will be, and some of the same teams will be in the new league. Glen Estee, Milford, Loveland will be in there with us. We lose Winton Woods and Harrison. Pick up Kings, Turpin, and Walnut Hills. So, it's been a good league. It's been a competitive league, and there's always been a playoff team usually come out of the league, and been some state championships come out of it with us and Winton Woods. So, we look forward to this last year.
Good. The first 3 games, you got like Murderers Row coming up here.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
You got Princeton in the Crosstown Showdown. Then you've got at Withrow.
Yeah, we're going to Withrow.
And then you got to come on your first home game against Lakota West.
Right.
It's pretty aggressive.
Well, you have to schedule in advance. You don't always know where you're going to be. If we were Division I, we'd need to have those kind of point games to win. And some of them are games that you look at them on paper and say that's a toss-up game. And I think the Princeton game is that way. I think it can go either way. I think the team that makes the fewest mistakes is probably going to win, and hopefully that's us. But, and then we have to go to Withrow, which we haven't played for several years. They've got a new coach, Jim Place, who used to be at Hamilton when we played Hamilton. A very veteran coach, was at Dayton Chaminade when they won the state championship. And then Lakota West will come to our place, and they'll come marching in with their 100 guys, and they'll just be huge. And they've got tremendous athletes, and we had a great playoff game with them the other year.
Yep.
And they've always got Division I talent, so that's tough. And then we come back with Turpin week 4, which will be an emotional game that will can go either way.
I was just getting ready to bring that up as you got the Turpin game, and we haven't had them in the league, and God, who knows when. It's been a long time. How do you feel about them, 1, playing them again this year, and then 2, back in the league together with them?
Well, we're back in the league next year, so it kind of made sense to play. And Coach Stoll, emailed me and said, we're going to have to play next year. We might as well play this year, and it made sense. And last year we were open week 4. We ended up having to play Cleveland Glenville, and for a while we didn't have a game. And which is kind of a factor of being successful. Teams don't want to play you sometimes, and that was tough to fill that date. But with our success, we felt like we had to take that game, and it was a great experience for our guys to play Glenville and see that kind of talent. And like I said, we played well for half, and now Turpin's back on the schedule, and we have to look at it. It's another game. I mean, we have some other things to take care of before we can worry about them, and they have the same situation. If they're just worrying about us, they're going to be in trouble the first 3 weeks, and if we're just worrying about them, we're going to be in trouble the first 3 weeks. So, we both have a lot of business to take care of before that game comes around. But with that said, it's going to create a tremendous amount of interest in the township, which I think is a good thing. Yeah. Anytime you can get people talking about high school football, I think that's good.
Let's talk about the opener. You got Princeton at Nippert Stadium, and it's got to be an honor for you and your program to play in there. Last year you played, and this year played at Nippert, and just what an honor it is to play in a showdown.
Yeah, it is. As long as I'm the coach, I'm going to always try to play in the showdown. Tom Gamble does a great job with it, and it's a premier high school event in town that weekend, opening weekend, and even in the country, there's not really an event that has that many quality of teams in it from all over, and there's always some interesting games. Tonight, Wyoming's playing Walnut Hills, and Ryle played Connor or Cooper last week.
Yeah.
In Northern Kentucky to kick it off, and it's just it promotes high school football. It's the kids get to play in a big time venue like Nippert, and it's always a great experience.
That was a big test, as you said, last year for your team. Gave you that confidence. It's going to be a pretty big test for your young team again this year.
Oh yeah, Princeton's huge. They've got a couple kids over 300 pounds, or 90 pounds. I mean, they're big. They're athletic. They're running a difficult offense, kind of a pistol type scheme, but they're running pretty much exclusively option stuff, whereas we're more of a zone team. But they're playing with a lot of pride. I think Coach Crowley's got them, believing in the Princeton tradition again, and it's going to be a battle for us.
Offensively, like you were saying, they got a quarterback, I believe, Nate McGill, really good run quarterback. They also had a guy that was a sophomore last year, I believe that's a junior now, really came on towards the end of the year. So they're really good, like you said, balanced offensively, but defensively on the other side, they got a couple good linebackers.
Yeah, linebackers. One's going. I think maybe Ball State he committed, but somebody said they thought Illinois too. I'm not sure exactly, but it's Coach Crowley's nephew, and they're big kids, 240-pound kids, and we don't have 240-pound linebackers at Anderson. Other schools do, but we don't. And they're going to be run stoppers and physical guys, and they've got kids on the edge to play man-to-man and get after you. So we're going to have to definitely play very, very well fundamentally and execute.
Keys of the game, no turnovers, basically.
Yeah, I don't think we can turn the ball over. If we do, we have to make sure we're getting some back from them. I think we do have to establish some type of rhythm offensively and keep our defense off the field. We can't just go 3 and out in the first quarter and keep putting our defense out there because we will wear down eventually, and against an option team that can cost you some big plays later on in the ball game. I think defensively we have to play really, really well assignment football against the option, get off blocks on the perimeter, and hopefully tackle well.
Let's go ahead and start wrapping it up here. You guys want to talk about the Alumni Association?
Yeah, I mean, this is this is our third year.
Yeah, I think it's
doing
about
it.
third year.
And I think the biggest struggle that we're having is getting repeat people to come back for some of our events. We tried doing a lot over the break, and we had some successful ones and not so. But I guess the big thing is really getting the word out there and getting everybody to come back and do as many things as we can. And hopefully throughout the year we're going to continue to have things that we can have the guys come back. So.
Right. I mean, they're all busy. Some of them have got young kids now, and that takes a lot of energy and so forth. But when I see guys in the community, they're always asking about the team. They still follow us and things like that. They're interested and so forth. And a lot of them are just, can't commit the time to it and things. But if they're getting online or they're checking things out or they're supporting us, that's all we can ask sometimes at this time. And then other guys are doing a little bit more, and it's growing. It's just growing at a slow pace, and we're getting more names on the wall outside the weight room of former players, the years they're playing. I think John Raymond's going to give me about 6 more placards to get put up again, which will put us up around, I don't know, maybe close to 30 that we have up there. And our goal is just to put everybody's name up there that ever played, and it'll be a cool thing in the future. We get that done.
Well, we do appreciate all the guys coming out too, and I think the big thing too is now we're starting to update the website a little bit more. We're getting more information on there for guys, and I think that's really going to help. And I've had a good response from the guys too, like you said.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, Dan, do we have air times for?
We do not have them yet.
Don't have them yet.
No, we will.
As soon as we get that, we will communicate as much as we can. But remember, if you can't make it to a game, we do all the games live on USBNSports.com. So every year we get more and more listeners, and I think that's a great thing if you've got relatives out of town, or if you've got someone who graduated from Anderson, played for Anderson, is away at college. Let them know that they can listen to us on USBNSports.com and send us emails and let us know how we sound and if they have any questions, things like that.
Well, and the one thing that we would like to do too during the season, and we're still trying to work it out, is possibly just Greg and I want to do a live show on Thursday night, just from my house, probably just talk about kind of what we're doing here, but do a live show and then people can respond to us. So we'll see how it is. I sent some information out to see what kind of response we got, and so far a lot of people said they would be tuning in or they want to hear it at a later date because obviously they got things going on. So
right.
Hopefully we can do that too as well.
Okay, so that's USBNSports.com. That's where you'll find us. Let's thank the folks who make this broadcast possible, along with all the games, of course. The folks up here at ACT, Anderson Community Television, we appreciate their use of their studio and their airtime. And Big thanks to John Raymond, our big producer in the booth there, for helping us with all the things he does for us. Denise White is always there for us, helping us, bringing the food. And
Absolutely.
more than anything else, but yeah, she does lots of things, but she keeps Danny fed, which is
That's
a
big job.
That is a
big
huge
it's a
job.
big chore.
It's a huge job.
And again, this is our 21st year of doing this, and most of the same guys have been with us the whole time. The spotter, Ed Barth, the stat man, Steve Martin, and Tim Cunnington's done the camera for at least 12 or 13 years. Danny was a cameraman for a while when Brad was announcing with me. So we've done it for a long time, and we do it because we enjoy doing it. We're big backers of the program, and it's just fun to do.
Yeah.
So.
And really, Debbie Cook is the new football mom president now. She's just done a great job of helping out. Not that no one's done that before, but I just appreciate that she's come into it right away, and she kind of came into it late, I believe.
Yeah, she's doing a great
doing a great
job.
job. So I really appreciate all the help that she's given me for getting ready for us for the games on Friday.
Very good.
Good.
Okay, well, Coach, good luck on your
Thanks.
first game.
Thanks.
So for Dan Albers and Coach Jeff Giese, I'm Greg Ellis. Thanks for joining us on Redskin Review.